Morning, boys and girls. Today we're going to be working on a new project. I think you really like it. It's a Pointillism project, named so after the artist George Seurat and his style of dabbing dots on the paper to mix colors on the canvas that he was painting on, so that it would kind of trick your eye and make you believe that you saw different colors and shades or values. And so we're going to use Q-tips. I got these Q-tips right here. We're going to use Q-tips and we're going to use some paint. So I have the paint here that I want to use, and we're going to do it on a colored sheet of paper, brown, because of what I found over the years is that if you do it on a colored sheet of paper, then when we make mistakes or we miss spots, nobody really picks up on those mistakes. So I got some examples of George Seurat's work for you to check out because I think you really like it, and then we'll get started on our drawing and cutting right away so we can start our fall tree together. Let's begin. Now, I thought for this project that we could really enjoy doing some cutting, practicing cutting a little bit, so I went ahead and made 2 by 9-inch pieces of paper, and I decided that what I would do with it is draw a tree trunk on it with a couple branches. So if we do this, the easiest way to do this is start at the very bottom, and we're going to make a line coming in and up to the top of the page so it's skinny. And this line here on the right will come in, up the page, and back out. So that's a little bit thicker. And I know it's difficult to see, but it's not impossible to see. We're doing pencil on brown paper. It's dark, right? At the top where I came out, all I want to do is kind of make a situation where I make a V shape that curls in and down and back up. That way the V connects to both of the top pieces of my trunk. That will make a really nice split in the tree for our painting later on. So let's have a refresh of how to cut. Don't forget when you're cutting that if you have a big hole and a small hole on your scissors, the big hole's for your fingers, small hole's for your thumb. Now I'm a lefty, so I always reach out like I'm shaking a hand. My thumb stays on top and my fingers are on the bottom, and I actually keep my pinky finger out of the scissors. They don't fit that well anyway. If you're a righty, same thing. Thumb will be on top and fingers on the bottom. Maybe your pinky is out, all right? Maybe another finger is out also if you can't really fit it. At this point, I just want to spend time cutting on the line slowly. I tell kids all the time, if you want to cut fast, cut slow. And I say that because sometimes when we cut fast, we make a lot of mistakes or we cut pieces off that we didn't mean to. And then instead of actually getting to be finished, we have to start over. So cutting fast, you might end up cutting slow. And the end here with the V. And there we have it. So at the bottom of our paper, we have our tree. Just like this. I'm lining up at the bottom, okay? I will use a glue stick and I'll glue it down. You can glue your tree in the middle. If you want to move it off center like this so it's not perfectly balanced, that would be all right too. But we can kind of see how this lines up pretty easily. If you want to make it on a hill, you would just move this up for your grass. If you want to make it at the very bottom in the flat grass, just right here. It doesn't matter. There's so many options. You can be creative. All right, so we have our glue stick, and just for a reminder, glue sticks should only really be wound up like a chapstick, just a little bit. You don't want it to be sticking out too far because it will fall out, okay? Or it won't twist back in. So when we glue, sometimes I see kids gluing right here, right on top of their background paper. If you have your background paper underneath what you're gluing, there's a good chance you'll get the glue on there, so move it out of the way. And then just work on the table. If you get glue on the table, it's okay. This is an art room and we're going to be able to wipe it up. If you're at home, just remember you're not finished until you clean up. Slide your paper over, and then I'm going to kind of make my tree so that it's at the bottom of my paper. Not all the way on the bottom, but it's off to the side also. And here's my paper. If you think of it, it's probably best if you glue stick on the side the pencil line is showing in the beginning. That way you don't have pencil lines following you and showing up the sides. Now that it's glued, I have my Q-tips here. I grabbed 4 Q-tips to start because I think that I will use more than 4 actually, but this will be what I do for my grass. I just want to show you. This one could be for brown, this one could be for blue, this one could be for green, and this one for yellow. I know we're doing grass, and if we're doing it in George Seurat's style of pointillism, then as we stipple our dots on our paper, we will end up having a bunch of colors becoming one or blending. And it won't blend when you're a foot away from it, but when you're 5 feet away from it, looking at it on a wall, or on a fridge in this case maybe, or framed in the hallway, who knows, then you'll see that blending take place. So let's slide these off to the side, and I'll start with a little bit of brown. I just dab the end of my Q-tip in the brown, and I start making little dots. It's a slow process. Take your time. If you get lots of paint on your Q-tip, then your Q-tip is going to change its shape. It's not going to hold up. Probably every 5 dots, go back for more paint and add to your Q-tip. And you can see I kind of make it like there's a ramp or a hill. And I'm just gonna start deciding where I want to put my brown. If I put a lot of brown in an area, it will probably look like an area of shadow. Okay. Don't push too hard. You don't want to slam your Q-tip to misshape it. All right, I'm gonna lay my brown Q-tip out of the way. I'm gonna get my green Q-tip. I can start making dots right over top of the brown. If the brown is still wet, give it time to dry, or stay away from the wet areas so that you can keep moving. We're also going to use blue and yellow. Here we can see now that I've made my shadows with my blue and my brown, and I used yellow and green for areas the sun might be hitting. So if the sun is coming down from the top, then I would have shadows around the bottom of the tree, and I would have some green grass over here looking a little bit brighter. You still see that I have brown and green and yellow over here, and then over here in this area I did put a little bit of yellow, but it's all about blending. So the farther away this looks, the more incredible it's going to be. Now what I'd like to do is start at the top and make an outline with my pencil of where I would like my tree to go. I want my tree to go off the top corner and come out here and then come back in right about here. From this shape I can create whatever tree I want to. So let's just check this out together. Fall trees have red, so I would start just by putting random dots around the edge of my tree where I just drew in pencil with the red. And think of the way the sun is hitting the tree. If the leaves are mostly orange, then we might have more orange dots. And the orange might look a little more red if it's in a shadow. So, carefully placing my dots, not dabbing too hard. Going back for paint when I need it is important. As soon as the dots start looking like they don't have enough paint, I have to go back and get more. Let's go down here. And this could certainly take a while, but because we have the Q-tips, it's really easy to get nice round little dots. Using the end of a brush would be difficult and tiring. I suppose that's why Seurat was so famous. And I can just start looking for areas in my tree that I might like to have red. Putting them close together. You can see already that the areas I'm missing are looking brown. So that's good, because what ends up happening is that brown fills it in, and you can have brown trees leaves in the fall especially. If it was white, my paper would be very bright, and it would be very easy to see where I made mistakes or missed. In this case, we can miss on purpose and really enjoy it. So here I'm kind of overlapping my orange and my red. I'm allowing them to blend a little bit. I'm filling in spots that were not red to make them orange, and then also cover the brown paper up. If I continue to fill this in with all orange, then I'll have a really nice fall tree. After I fill it in with orange, I'll go back into some areas and put yellow as highlights for the sun. And now you can see that I'm adding the yellows in just to make my highlight for the tree. And I'm not afraid to put those yellows over top of the orange, even if they mix a little bit in color because they're still wet, they'll be all right. The yellow and the orange and actually all the paints, because of the style of paint they're temper paint. They might not look that solid, so they would be a little see-through. We call that transparent. But once they dry, they usually brighten back up. You can see already, I hope, that my paper is kind of wiggly and it's rippling because of the wet in the paint. So don't put that paint on too thick, because then you'll end up with a really rippled paper. The other option is to go ahead and grab yourself some thicker paper when you start this, and then it will last better. These projects can be beautiful, and you can do layer after layer of color. I would maybe even think about adding a sky and adding some of those colors in the sky into the middle of the tree, so it almost looked like you could look through the tree and you're seeing through the tree like a real tree. For this project, we're just going to stick with the browns and the reds, oranges, and yellows, and then we did the green at the bottom, but no sky this time. That will speed it up a little bit. Otherwise, it would take us about 6 weeks to complete at school. Please take your time doing this and then show off your work. I want to see it. Email it to me, Class Dojo it to me, Google Classroom it to me. I want to check out what you're doing at home. I hope you enjoy doing this project, and stay tuned for more.